Hello and welcome to today's webinar. Today we are talking about not something we normally talk about. Normally we're talking about software development, but today we're going to be going over international, our presentation today is on international mindfulness and stress reduction, which in a way is sometimes quite the opposite of what we often talk about here. We get into exciting development software packages and stuff like that. But we decided to do this, part of it is a response to the fact that there have been some pretty big changes here recently in terms of people being locked down and staying at home. But really at any time of year, I think you're going to find this type of presentation, which I'm going to present right now, and Costello is going to present right now, to be really quite useful. Ed Costello is based in Ireland. She has her own consultancy practice dealing with mindfulness. She studied here in the United States as well and has given these types of talks to many Fortune 500 companies. And I've gotten the pleasure to go through some of the slides with her and go through some of the topics. And I really think you're in for a treat here today. So, but be patient with Anne. She's used to doing live presentations. And if any of you have given a webinar before and you're staring at a blank screen and you can't really see what's going on, it's a little bit off-putting, but I'm sure Anne is going to do a terrific job. So let's get started. Anne, I can see your screen and I can see you. Welcome to today's webinar. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you so much. I'm so delighted and excited to present this webinar on mindfulness. And I am here actually in Belfast, Northern Ireland. So, and as I will tell you later on, I lived in the States. So it's just going to be great to be able to connect again for this very special hour. So without any further ado, let's start, Dave, with the first slide.
That sounds great. If you want to go ahead and hit page down on your keyboard or click on the thing, we should be all set. So click once on the screen and then hit page down and you should be all set.
Sure. There we go. Great.
Very nice.
All right, wonderful.
And you said you were bad at technology. Come on, this is great.
Thank you to Alpha Software, should I say, and all of you at Alpha Software, Richard, for this opportunity to present on my favorite subject, which is mindfulness. So this is the session plan for the next hour. We're going to talk about what mindfulness is and why you should practice mindfulness, and then how to practice mindfulness. We're going to be doing 3 practices because that's the most important thing. It's not really an intellectual exercise. It's all about learning how to be mindful. And the first practice will be just connecting with the breath. The second one will be just using mindfulness into your daily, into getting it into your daily life. And then the third one will be a longer session, maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and we'll discuss mindful eating. So I hope you have a raisin or a piece of fruit or a sweet or a biscuit or something small that we can use for the mindful eating part. And we'll end with mindfulness, looking at nature and how that can help boost our mental health and our immune system. So next slide then. So this is me. I trained at the Center for Mindfulness in Worcester, Massachusetts, and I lived in America for 15 years in Boston, where I worked as a nurse at Tufts University, New England Medical Center. I have some tremendous memories from there. And then I moved back to Ireland, to where I'm from, brought my husband from New York with me, and we are living here with our 4 sons. And I'm also a yoga teacher. So I'm delighted to have been trained under the wonderful direction of John Kabat-Zinn. So we're going to start with practice just to settle you for a few minutes. And what I should say is that mindfulness is a skill that you learn, and we will need to pay absolute 100% attention. So just make certain, and I'm sure you are, that phones and distractions are out of the way so that you can really focus for the next 2 minutes just on your breath. So I'm going to ring a bell and we're just going to begin. You don't need a bell for mindfulness, but just as I have it here, just to bring your attention to this moment. I'll just invite you to settle back in your chair, sitting upright, but not uptight, having your feet on the floor, feeling grounded through your feet on the floor. And just for the next 2 minutes, just 2 minutes, I'd like you to focus on your breathing. So just notice the breath entering and leaving the body. You may like to close your eyes, or you can look towards the floor. So that is just 1 minute of paying attention to the breath, to just being still in this moment. So now we'll practice for 1 more minute, just noticing your breath entering and leaving your body. And just 5 seconds left. Okay, now open your eyes. And that was a brief mindful moment. And if I could see your faces, I would ask you in person how hard and how difficult it is just to pay attention for 2 minutes. They say science tells us that we are distracted. Actually, the Facebook will tell us that is every 3 seconds, 5 seconds of changing the screen, because it's really, really difficult to sit still and pay attention for a short period of time. So let me get on to the definition of mindfulness now. So mindfulness is paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the moment without judgment to things as they are. So paying attention at the moment is really, really, really difficult. On purpose, that means that you're alert and awake to paying attention in the present moment. We don't want to be in this present moment. We would prefer to be back in January when we had all our plans made for the new year, rather than where we've been since March 8th here in Ireland. But I know for you, we're all in the same boat as this. So this present moment brings up a lot of anxiety and tension and confusion and stress, and we just want to get it over with and not be in this moment. And to try and be in this moment without judgment is really, really, really difficult. And that's the challenges that we are put in front of us. But the problem is, this is the only moment we have. As John Kabat-Zinn would tell us, this is the only moment we have for living. We have to look at how we see this moment and how we can work better with this moment so that we can actually be present for it, just the way it is, to be present for it. Okay. So, who do you think is having the better time on the walk? Doggy, of course, because we know that wherever we are, our minds are busy. This is the mind that keeps worrying, the mind that keeps us awake at nighttime, the mind that won't close down. And as Mark Twain says, my life is filled with one catastrophe after another, most on which never happened. And this mind that worries and catastrophizes really takes all our attention away. And if we want to be remain emotionally well and strong and make good choices, especially in this difficult time, we need to have our mind clear. Science tells us that we have between 60 to 80,000 thoughts that go through our head every day. Just imagine that. 60 to 80,000. And 47% of the time, we're not even here at all. We're somewhere else. We're either thinking about the future or thinking about the past. Have you ever been absent-minded where you arrived at somewhere, you drove somewhere and you can't even remember how you got there? Or you go upstairs for something and then you don't know why you went upstairs. So our mind just travels away. And I just think back to times when you found that when you're at the computer, working at the computer, and if you have your phone with you and maybe now trying to work from home with your family around, think about how many times you find that you're distracted. So when I tell people it's only 47% of the time, they're actually amazed because they feel they're distracted at least 80%. So we're aware of the distractions, but we're not really sure how to deal with them. And when the distractions are all about what's going to happen to my job, what's going to happen in the future, when it's catastrophizing and worrying about things we can't control, then we can spend an awful lot of time spending our attention and spinning our wheels in an area that we cannot control. In actual fact, if we just came back to try and focusing on the present moment, that would be more calming for our center. Because what happens is with stress, it destroys our immune system. They say in Ireland anyway, 78% of the visits to hospitals are stress related. And here in Northern Ireland, because of the troubles way back in the 80s, we have 25% more people worry from stress and anxiety than they do in Southern Ireland. So there's an awful lot of stress going on here. But there is a way to deal with that, and that is where mindfulness comes in. So what is mindfulness? I'm just going to pick a few things because we only have an hour. It's a mind training. It's a way to train your mind to stay in the present moment and to observe when it has wandered off, to be able to bring it back. And one of the skills, of course, is your breath to do that, but there are more ways as well. And it's a life skill that once you learn it, you never forget it. It's like riding a bike. You'll become aware of when you're distracted and you'll be able to bring yourself back to your breathing. And there's so many areas that you can use it in. It helps us deal with challenges in our day-to-day living. And it helps us be aware of actually what our stresses are, what's going on inside us, what's eating at us. The more time we spend in silence, just reflecting and being with what's happening, even if they're uncomfortable emotions, the better we're able to handle them. So why practice mindfulness? So mindfulness helps us to make wise choices. And why I say that is, if you're working in business and you're in a place of emotional anxiety, if you're upset, and how are you going to make a wise choice? So mindfulness brings us to that place of calmness so we can step back from our problems and just take a moment to choose a wise decision to make. It's evidence-based. Over the last 40 years, the amount of research done in mindfulness is significant, especially in the States, with medicine, education, and then the science. So scientists can see exactly what's happening in our brain by fMRIs of the brain. So they know when we're stressed out, they know the parts of the brain that are being ignited by worry. And one in particular is the amygdala. That's where the fight or flight response takes place. When we're stressed, we go into fight or flight. So that releases from our kidneys, the top of our kidneys, the hormones called adrenaline and cortisol. They sweep through our body, they take up our energy, and they can leave us exhausted. While we should be working from the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain behind our forehead, that is where we make all our wise choices, and that's where we get our resilience from. So mindfulness helps us to step back a little from what we perceive as stress and be able to look at it more wisely. Of course, it increases our resilience then because you don't get caught in tangles of ruminating about stress. We're able to step back and step out more quickly. And it raises our level of well-being by decreasing these hormones of the cortisol and the adrenaline and increasing our hormones of serotonin. And it increases our immune system, and our blood pressure drops, heart rate drops, and we come to a calmer state when we're mindful. So I'm going to do another practice with you now, and it's called the 20-second pause. And we'll look at when you can use this, when you can take that moment to step back from a moment of anxiety, when your buttons are being pushed. And I'm sure if you're like me and everybody else that I work with at home, while it's wonderful being with your family and friends and maybe the dogs around or whatever, it can also be very, very stressful trying to get time for yourself. And so we're going to do the 20-second pause now, and that is basically integrating 4 breaths. So just 4 breaths is all I want you to take. And we'll just start when I ring the bell. And then just settling yourself on the chair again, feeling your feet on the floor, sitting upright, but not uptight. So relax your shoulders down and away from your ears. Again, bring your gaze to the floor or close your eyes. And just connect with your breathing. Breathing in and filling the lungs, and then just a pause, and then just breathing out, emptying the lungs completely. And then just another breath in through the nose, filling the lungs, little pause, and then breathing out completely. And then breathing in another breath, and slowly breathing out. And then one more breath. and slowly breathing out. Good. So you can use this 20-second pause before you open your computer in the morning. Oftentimes when I'm working with people, they tell me that this is, and I know it for myself, this is when I really use my pause. Just before I open my computer, I sit, I just take a breath, 3-4 breaths, and I settle myself and I say, okay, whatever comes down the road, comes down the road. I'm going to be able to handle it. So I settle myself before I open my computer. And in between meetings, I'm sure you're exhausted with all the Zoom meetings. So just even to get up and stretch, walk around, and you could even go outside the door and take your breaths then, or go to another room, or just stand up. Take your breaths, settle yourself, just come back to the breath, away from any worrying thoughts, settle yourself. And then dealing with challenges of working from home. I can just imagine all the challenges you feel, if there's anything like the challenges I feel. And sometimes, even in conversations with my family, while I'm looking at, I have 4 sons, maybe one of them has annoyed me. And I just look, I say nothing, I pause, I take my breaths, and then I decide whether I'm going to answer them or not. This is usually after they've left all their dishes in the sink, or they haven't, their bedrooms are a mess or something. And I just make a simple choice and say, there's no point in getting upset. If I'm feeling upset, I'm not going to be able to communicate well. So I'll make a choice, and it'll be maybe just walk away or have a laugh, not to take it so seriously. But I do need that little pause just to bring myself back. I'm being the cross mommy. And then before taking a difficult phone call, just to kind of help yourself put things in perspective. Think about what you're going to say. Calm yourself down, and make sure that when you pick that phone, that you're mentally in a good place. And then just the difficult experiences of every life that we've been thrown into now with what's going on. And just stepping back from it and just deciding, maybe you'll decide after you pause, I'm not watching any TV tonight, or I'm turning off my Facebook for a while, or I'm just not going to get upset because it's not going to help me. And just that little pause gives you that time to just check in with yourself. Instead of reacting, you can just respond when you want to. Okay, now we're going to get to do a longer practice. So this is when it's going to be challenging a little bit, because you will find it difficult, I would imagine, but maybe some of you are meditators already. And I just want to explain, as John Kabat-Zinn says, this is not about having a bliss experience. This is just about accepting what comes up for you. So if you've had a hard morning and it's 1 o'clock with you, you might be hungry. Just recognize, oops, I'm feeling hungry, or I'm feeling this is difficult, or I'm, this is not what I thought this was going to be like. Whatever the thought, the feeling is, just be with it and come back to the breath. Just let that thought go and come back to your breathing. So when you're ready now, inviting you again just to sit upright. You can have your back against the back of the chair if you like. And we'll begin with just the sound of the bell. making sure your feet are on the floor and your shoulders are down and away from your ears. So one of the greatest gifts we can give ourselves in the midst of our busy lives is to stop and take a pause. It's not easy to take a pause. It can feel counterintuitive, as though stopping in the midst of busyness will mean we will achieve less. When we pause, we offer ourselves the opportunity to connect with ourselves, to reset before going forward and continuing what we are doing. Now, beginning with stopping what you are doing and coming to a pause. Making sure you are comfortable with an alert awareness while also relaxed. You may like to close your eyes, and as you arrive in this pause, becoming still. Sensing a deepening attention so that you can feel the body right now. Just feeling into your body right now. And taking a few cycles of breathing, inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. Inhaling deeply and exhaling fully. As you inhale deeply, filling the lungs, holding for a moment, and then exhaling slowly and completely. Repeating this again. As you inhale deeply, filling the lungs, holding for a moment, and exhaling slowly and completely. Continue to follow the breath in a natural way. Relax with the breath as the breath comes in, opening to receiving, and as the breath goes out, letting go and releasing. So see, can you let go of any built up tension from the morning? Any frustration you've had? Just naming it and just letting it go. As you sit quietly, you may like to pay attention to the body and notice if there are areas of tension or tightness in the body. Attention resting on the shoulders, maybe relaxing the shoulders a little. Noticing the face and allowing the face to soften a little. See, can you relax in this non-doing? Notice any thoughts that are coming in. This is part of mindful awareness. Very important that you notice your thoughts. So just aware of any thoughts coming in and just recognize them as a thought and then just let them go. Just come back to the mindful practice of the breath. Feeling the hands now and allowing them to rest in an easy way and soften a little. And I invite you to notice if there are any other areas of the body holding tension. So just being present to what's here without having to change it in any way. Being present to what's here without having to change it in any way. distractions, thoughts, sensations, the breath, noises, just whatever is here without any judgment. See, can you be present? So feeling the breath and feeling the body, allowing this pause to support you to feel centered and open as you re-enter and come back. So if you just want to stretch your hands, just have a nice stretch above your head. Good. Great, well done. So we're just going to move on. Oops. That's just for you for later. If you want to take that recording home. So now we're going to do some mindful eating. And I suppose the purpose of all this is that as you go through your day, you have certain tasks that you do for work, but then you have a space also that you can have for yourself, that you can enjoy for yourself. So part of that hopefully will be your meditation practice and also mindful eating. A lot of people just gulp down their food. They eat out of boredom, or they eat out of just pure habit, or they don't even notice what they're eating because they're on their phones or they're distracted. And even if a meal is made for them, oftentimes we never notice what's going in our mouths. So this is a moment that John Kabat-Zinn has on his 8-week program, which is mindful eating, to actually notice what you're eating. So we're going to do it right now. So I invite you to take whatever it is that you're going to eat. For me, it's just a little walnut. And you may have a piece of fruit. I hope you brought something, or a biscuit. If you haven't, just take a minute now to find something if you're at home. Just to have something with you. And like I said, something small. Good. So let's take a look at what you're about to eat, and I invite you to take it into your fingers like that and take a look and look at the shape and the size and the color and the texture. It's like as if you're looking at a plate of food and you want to take it all in. So you're looking like you've never seen it before, with curiosity. And going to bring it to our nose to smell. Good. Just get the saliva going under your tongue. And now we're going to think about what we're about to eat and be grateful to have this food, and then just to place it in your mouth. And then instead of gulping it down slowly, to chew, taste the whole flavor. If there's a smell, the aroma, just to slow down so you can really be in the moment of savoring what you're going to eat. So I'm just going to leave you for a minute to enjoy that. And I'm going to enjoy my walnut. So remember not to rush, to really taste the flavors. Notice any irritability if you're thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever done. Just notice how it makes you slow down and really savor the moment. I'm going to chance moving forward. I'm not sure if you're finished or not, but just in terms of time, if you have to keep eating while I'm speaking, that's absolutely fine. So the whole idea is that we take little moments of our day and we make them very special. We make an ordinary moment very special. And that is when you're eating or when you're communicating with your children, an ordinary moment that normally you would just rush by and say, come on, come on, come on, that you begin to really take a moment to notice what's happening around you, to really connect in with whatever you're doing. Like we're connecting with our breath, we're connecting with our food, we're connecting with the relationships and the people around us. And that has something I think that has really brought home to me the way this virus for the last 2 months has helped me connect, especially with my older children. Um, Going for walks with them and really chatting with them because they can't see their girlfriends and they can't get away. So I've got them. But no, that just slowing everything down so that then we have the energy to speed up when we want to be in the flow at work. So to be emotionally strong because we're not exhausted about thinking about things we can't control. So this is one other way to bring us back to the moment. So this, I'm very excited about this practice, which is called mindful walking. And walking in nature. So let's take a typical day where you have your work, you get up in the morning and you sit in down to do your work. So my advice would be to plan that at a certain time in the evening that you cut off and that you head out for some exercise and for some walking, or whether it's cycling, but for our purposes, it's mindful walking. And that's because to keep the balance right, to keep your head right, and to keep you fresh, we need to be out in the air. And if we're outside and we've had a walk, or I have my Fitbit, which is 10,000 steps we have to take, it's brilliant because I know that I've gotten some exercise, going to sleep better, going to be good for my immune system. It's going to exercise my body. And when I'm out there, I'm going to be in the moment. So I'm going to do a visualization with you about mindful walking. So just again, invite you to, I know this may be very, very different. I hope you haven't left, that you're all still there, because this is something you can practice for the rest of your life once you begin to take in nature and its beauty. So just allowing you now to, again, come to a seated position with an alert awareness and visualize that it's after your day's work, or it's in the middle of the day, or it's early morning, whenever you see a chance to get outside. So imagine you're leaving your back door, you're or front door. You're heading down to wherever the nearest space is for you. Maybe you have to go in your car, or maybe you can go out your back door, or maybe you have a small area in your back garden. And once you come out in nature, because your eyes have been so focused on a screen for hours, it's really, really good. Just if you can imagine yourself looking up at the sky and just noticing what's up there at this moment. Maybe birds, clouds, or a clear blue sky. Just taking in the view of the sky. And then as you begin to walk, noticing your feet on the floor. So just noticing what it's like to really feel your feet under the ground, under the clay, on the clay, on the grass, whatever it is. Just notice it as you walk. And then as you're walking on, notice through your senses the breeze, if there's a breeze, or if it's a warm sun, or if it's rain, whatever it is, notice it on your skin, on your face, and your body. Just really taking it in. Noticing what you're hearing through your ears, all the different kinds of birds and noises, and maybe children at a distance, of course, or maybe your own children. Just really take in the sounds around you. Notice what you're smelling. What smells are there? Maybe there's the blue lilies, maybe there's lavender, all the different smells that's in nature. So what you're taking in through your ears, your nose, your senses, your feet, what you're touching with your hands, and then what you're seeing with your eyes, to move your eyes around in all directions, to notice a plant, maybe close up to a leaf, and then you open up your vision to look at a whole branch and then at a whole tree. That whole sense of really taking in, bringing you back to your senses, to this moment. And all the different colors of green and brown, and the different colors of the plants and flowers that maybe you just passed by. And if you're near a river or the ocean, just taking a moment to let that nourish you. Maybe you get the moment to see somebody and have a smile with them, a nod, keeping your distance. And then just slowly coming back again to your home. And if you haven't left your home and you're out in your backyard, just coming back into the house. Thank you. I would strongly advise you for your emotional health to get out every day so that you can sleep better at nighttime. I do a lot of sleep workshops, and that is the one thing I find, that people are not getting enough sleep because a lot of people are not getting exercise. It's so important to get out, and exercise doesn't have to be always walking, it can be cycling or running. But for those short breaks away from work, to just get outside and to move your eyes around and to look at nature and to just really take in the amount of research now and how good nature is for us, and being outside is really incredible. So I hope that you would use that. And you know, what I say in I suppose it's an analogy I have for the car. We all use cars. We will be using them again. And you get your car checked. You take good care of your car. And often we drive our car fast on the motorway, high speed. You know what happens to your car if you continue to drive it really fast and not take care of it. It's the very same with our mind. If we keep just working all the time and don't take regular breaks, we're going to get burnt out. So if you could imagine the analogy of being in your car, and then every so often you move from the fast lane to the medium lane to the slow lane, and every so often you have to come off to the side and take a break. It's very much the same with your mental health. If you want to be sharp, there are times you will have to step out of the work mode, the doing mode, and come into just being in this moment. So I'm hoping that you'll use that mindful walking, the mindful eating, that longer meditation where we sat and then 20-second pause, and sometimes just pausing and not even focusing on your breathing, just to be still for a while and listen to some music and do something that you love is so refreshing and so important for you. So we looked at, as I'm coming slowly now to the end here, we looked at the formal practices which is a seated practice, or you can do mindful standing or lying down. And then the informal, which is your walking meditation, your mindful eating, and the awareness of how you live your life at this moment. So how aware are you of your stress triggers? How aware are you of who pushes your buttons? Is there any way that you could, next time that you feel your buttons are pushed, that you could step back and just take a pause, take a breath, and just realize the fact that you're in charge actually, and you have a choice. You don't have to react when some situation comes up that's not good. You don't have to react. You can make a choice and you can choose to respond when you want. So it's just an awareness of your emotions and how to handle them. So this is an old Irish saying called under the shelter of each other we survive. Er ska a chéile a bhhairn na daoine. So it's about self-care, it's about caring for others, and it's about working together through this difficult time. If anything I have learned over the last few months is how I really value tremendously my friends and my family that I can't get to see. And the next time I do get to see them, I'm going to be much more present than I may have been before. I learned the importance of being present for the people that I'm missing, the friends that I'm missing. But I realized that together, all of us together, leaving nobody behind, is how we can get through this. And the importance of family and community. And I'm wondering, are you thinking the same thing? So we have some books, and I know that Dave has a list of other books for you. The famous one is John Kabat-Zinn's Wherever You Go, There You Are. And I don't know if Dave has left a list for you, but I have some meditations on my website. If you want to take them down. And also on Tuesday evenings, but I know it's probably in the middle of your night, I have 8 o'clock. Mightn't be actually.
Middle of our afternoon, actually.
Yeah,
Like
perfect.
a nice afternoon break.
I do meditations every Tuesday evening. So Gary, Dave, I wanted to open it up if anybody had questions.
Right. So by all means, if anyone does have questions or comments, you can go ahead and put them into the questions box of the GoToWebinar control panel. I've also taken a list of notes and links that Anne had sent me earlier today, and I've placed them in the chat window. If you want to copy those out and include her email address and her website. If you enjoyed today's session, by all means, send Anne an email. If you didn't enjoy today's session, send me an email. No, I'm kidding. So that's
Dave,
it.
do you have any questions
thank you
yourself?
so much. Thank you very much, Anne. This was really terrific. I know people here enjoyed it. I've gotten a couple of I was trying to be fully present, but I did get a couple of Skype comments from people who were saying they were enjoying this as it was going on. So
Oh,
it was
brilliant.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again,
Do you have
any
any
questions or
questions
comments?
yourself?
I think I'm good. Well, maybe one comment, and it had to do, I guess, with sleep. And I've noticed that I'm much better at work when I get enough sleep. But
Yes.
sometimes, I find at the end of the week I've hit a pretty good sleep deficit, and I feel that, on the weekends that really I need to sleep in the afternoon. But I feel like, that's my time, and I was feeling guilty for sleeping during that time, even though I know that. Uh, Doing so will actually make me considerably more productive at the end of the time. But do other people have that sort of that weird feeling of guilt, like taking a nap is like a bad thing, a lazy thing, something you shouldn't be doing? You got to keep going.
I know. I
Yeah,
know. Um, well, it is not actually recommended for any more than a half an hour
half an
because
hour. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
it affects your sleep cycle, your
Hmm.
circadian rhythm. So the ideal is that we go to bed between 10 and 10:30 if you
Uh-huh.
want to be able to get your 8 hours sleep, or 10:30 go up, and then if you sleep by 11 and you're
Yeah.
up by 7, that's your 8 hours. And to keep to a routine, so that you have to eat. Sleep is one of the great pillars of mental health: sleep, nutrition, exercise, and then your mindfulness, your awareness, your attention to your moods and attention to what's happening. So sleep is incredibly important, and
Right.
how you attend to it. And how you tend to it is trying to get to bed early, getting to
Yeah.
bed on time, because that's when everything happens in the body, everything renews at nighttime. Your heart gets gets to get really slow down. You get rid of an awful lot of what's called the emotional stress that happens to the third phase of sleep, when we have dreams. And they say that the brain is able to get rid of a lot of the emotions that would upset us the next day. Have you ever heard the saying, sleep on it? There's a
Sure.
reason to say sleep on it, because you feel so much better the next day. It boosts our immune system. It's extremely important for making decisions the next day. You feel really fresh when you get a good night's sleep. And don't you feel really groggy when you don't?
For sure.
So just short naps, but no more than a half an hour. The only
Mhm.
place you would nap is if you were taking a long drive and you felt like you couldn't
Sure.
continue. You need
Yeah.
to pull over and have a nap then. But
Hmm.
it's really, really important, and it will also help your mental health incredibly if you can get into a routine. And for anybody doing meditation, if you could do 10 minutes in the morning every day before you get into your workspace, and just settle yourself, calm yourself, think about things you're grateful for versus things that have gone wrong or plans that have fallen through. Think about what's positive, and that really feeds a positive energy in your body and in your mind when you're feeling gratitude, and also, of course, self compassion through this difficult time. That we're all doing our best. Say to people, it's not the time to start wrecking the house and start painting and killing yourself doing extra work. Just take it easy. Be kind to yourself. It's a time to try and nourish yourself and mind yourself till we get through this.
That's terrific. Why don't we leave it there? Thank you very much, Anne. Again, all of Anne's contact information is in the chat window. Do check out our website. Thanks again. We really appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.